Hey everybody, today is October 2nd, 2023. I'm Gene, and welcome to the Monday edition of Hanging with Uncle. It's good to see you guys, good to be back again. Before we get started, please, if you have not, hit that subscribe button. We're really trying to grow our channel, and it'll help me pay some medical bills with some cancer treatments I'm going through. So it's no cost to you, but it helps me pay for my medical bills, and I thank you. And that's me shilling for it. Okay, I'm done. Hit that like button, help spread the word and gets our news out there, and hit that notification bell so you'll be notified when we put new content out there and go live. Today we have back with us our man on the street, Brent Naple. How you doing, Brent?
Great, Gene. Hey, man, I'm glad you're back from Hawaii. I thought with all that great pot there, you might stay there forever.
You know, that's the funny thing about Hawaii. It was the first state to legalize medicinally and still is not recreational.
Really?
Yeah. So
the mob was growing pot on Maui forever, man. Shit. It's still not legal?
It's, I don't mess with it. I don't mess with it, man. You know, I do know how to do without, so... But man, it was.
I'm glad you're back, and I know your treatment started, brother. And you know, I mean, everyone I know that we deal with cares for you, and we're here to support you. So we'll definitely be getting out the message to go ahead and get more people subscribing to your show. And it's also what we're doing is an alternative. You know, or actually the truth. You know, our show is set up to go ahead and educate you because we care about you. We care about what happens to you, whether you're Republican, Democrat, black, white, whatever. We're offering you the truth according to investigations that we do and the people we talk to in the different agencies to go ahead and make America a safer place. It's just really hard to do that with all the chaos that has been brewing.
Exactly. And I know we talked earlier last week about the looming government shutdown, right? And It's ridiculous that we have to do this. Every time the budget comes up, there's an issue that somebody wants to hold the government hostage over, and we go till the 12th hour, and then finally something is passed, right? When the government does shut down, there are certain people that have to work and not get paid, and I don't believe their pay is even retroactive, like our military and TSA and Border Patrol. So if you don't fund them, you don't want to keep our borders safe, which means you want open borders, Republicans. Anyway.
Yeah. I mean, not only you're getting open borders, you got to go ahead and have continuity of your government. I mean, the whole thing is continuity of government. I mean, that's the point, is to continue the good faith and establishment that has been set for you. So you can't. I mean, if you're shutting down your government, you're making us look weak at a time of war. If you haven't noticed, World War III is about to pop off. So we're looking like complete fucking idiots, arguing over a couple pennies when we should be setting up and how we're going to deal with national security threats in our country and global threats to keep the established order in place to safeguard humanity.
You know,
so for me personally, man, I went in May. I spoke with Liz Cheney's aides. I was trying to talk to her. I was trying to figure out what the hell happened on January 6th. Why was our Capitol building is still in a state of disarray? You know, I went down, I talked to Harry Dunn at the Capitol building. I tried to get into the White House. I talked to Jennifer A. Day from U.S. Secret Service, Special Agent Webb. on the day I was in town trying to get a deal done for the debt ceiling. Because I was like, hey, man, if you need some help, I've been doing these investigations for the last 3 years. I know all your ins and out of your intelligence community. You know, my family is the precursor to DHS. So let me help you correct this problem. So I started reaching out to him again last week, and that's when I started panicking again. Because I knew how important this was at such a crucial moment for our national security safety and global safety.
Well, you know, I asked myself, who would want to do that? Because even though the government shutdown was averted, aid to Ukraine was not included in that funding. And
exactly.
Why would you not want to include aid to a country that was unprovokedly invaded by Russia? And I ask myself, when I hear Cadet Bonespurs always praising Vladimir Putin and members of Congress talking about how they admire Putin more than they do Biden, I wonder, are they really American citizens? Are they Russian plants? What are they doing? Because what other reason would you have to not support that?
So, you know, I'm Italian, Russian, and Jewish, and I knew from the late 70s that there was alignment of the American government to a point with the Russian government. There's been Asians trying to actually form alliance for a while, but it started to get more involved about 1980. But when you have people coming in, that could be a false flag saying, hey, I'm trying to help you out to actually get into your national security secrets. So not only has the Russians been coming in, you got the Chinese, you have all these groups targeting our intellectual property, our national security secrets, basically treating America as an open book. So if you're actually been trying to align that for a while, if you not provide aid to Ukraine to help soldier up their defenses before we go into war when NATO has their deadline in November of next month, that means that you're going to be killing more American soldiers. By not providing aid, and this is what I hate the most, you're going to be killing our military more because now they're not prepared as we come into their country to fight back. We have to have that continuity of preparation. That is called military readiness, what we've been doing for the last year and a half, and then to give up on it a freaking month and a half before World War III officially starts. And then you're setting up lambs to the slaughter, man.
You know, all Ukraine is asking for is the means and resources to defend themselves. They're not asking for U.S. boots on the ground. Let us defend ourselves. They know how to fight. They know how to defend their country. And I don't think that's too much to ask for. You know, if you call yourself the greatest nation on earth, you don't turn your back on nations that are being invaded by bigger countries. You know, that's just my opinion. But
yeah, you would think you'd have as an adversary, you know, you have to prepare for all eventualities. And I don't know how this is preparing for anything. The only thing they've been preparing is arguing over a few scraps of dollars that are out there. Like I said, I look at what's been going on in D.C., having lived there recently, is there's not a whole lot of difference between some Republicans and Democrats.
No.
There's some Republicans that are, sorry, Gene, talk. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, man, you're right. When it comes to money, they get their money from the same place as the same people. So when I hear Republicans talk about George Soros, don't think that they're not getting money from him too.
Yeah, you can look at his donors, and so he was donating to both parties, and a lot of the billionaires actually donate to both sides.
Yeah. So
you can track it.
They're like arms dealers who, they give money. Whoever wins is going to thank them because they have a donor, and whoever loses is going to be grateful because you gave me support. They know they don't care.
Yeah, and then how the politicians are making money off it too is, so if you give money to their campaigns, they don't actually have to spend it all. They just got to utilize it to try to help win and put people in a position. So it's almost like a racket. they're becoming the richest people on earth, and then the people that are being hurt, of course, as they get richer, the majority of people in America are getting poorer. So when I look at it is, this debt ceiling is going to sink. So, I think a couple of people in both parties. I mean, they're going to start asking questions about military readiness. They're going to see chaos ensue. And then it's not the politicians. They want to be the ones that look like they're solving all the problems.
So
some of them do, but most of them are just walking through the paces, showing what they're doing on TV in front of the camera, and they're more worried about publicity to make money for their next campaign.
What I see from this shutdown is that, and again, I'm registered no party preference, so I'm not picking a side. These are just facts. This is just what happened. So you can arm yourself with information when you go into the voting booth next year in November, okay? So we're getting close to the shutdown, correct?
Yeah, the shutdown is what, we got 45-day extension now?
We got a 45-day extension, but the Senate, bipartisan, put together a bill and sent it to the House like, all right, look, man, all you got to do is just do this and we'll avoid the shutdown, right? That got rejected because McCarthy didn't have the votes. And when I mean he didn't have the votes, it takes 218 to pass a bill, right? And and I believe Republicans have 223 or 222, and Democrats have the balance, the minority. Was it like 212, 213, something like that?
Yeah, it was about 10 or 12 votes less.
Right. So with this Freedom Caucus, with Marjorie Taylor Greene and Matt Gaetz and the Bimbo Boebert and people like that holding the government hostage and not allowing McCarthy to pass this to keep the government open, now McCarthy's in hot water because he went across the aisle, talked to Hakeem Jeffries, and worked with the Democrats to keep the government open, and Republicans want his head for it. So again, just looking at it, when I'm looking what's happening, Democrats control the Senate. They work with Republicans, send a bipartisan bill. When I look at the House, Republicans can't do a damn thing by themselves. They cannot govern. They needed help from the Democrats to keep government open and functioning. So when I go to the ballot box in November, that's what I'm going to remember.
So McCarthy has to keep on reaching out to more Democrats now. So if he's already started the process, he's already vulnerable. I believe he has to keep on working that in order to go ahead and keep in office. Because ultimately what he wants is to, or at least a lot of people, they want to have recognition for their job. Everyone wants to be at the best top position in their company, whatever. Well, that's for him as Speaker of the House. So if he wants to retain that position, he's got to go ahead and create rhetoric with a couple people in the Republican Party, and then a couple, and then the Democratic Party, and then get the votes needed to stay in the office and start working the bipartisan thing, because he's going to be the downfall guy on this, and that, it's just how it's set up right now. It's and then them trying to do the investigations over Biden and his son and all this shit. This is just ways to generate income for the for the Republican Party to go ahead and make money for people to be fearful to go ahead and give money to campaign contributions. Well, the Democrats do it to a point too, but the way it's set up right now is, the Republicans have a lot more to I'm at to lose here in this situation.
Exactly.
They should reach out across the aisle, man.
And that's my point. If McCarthy was smart, and I've never accused him of being smart, they have 45 days, to solve this problem with this short CR. If I'm Kevin McCarthy, I work across the aisle. I find the votes in the Republican Party to keep government open. I work across the aisle with Hakeem Jeffries. I fund the government for the next year. So it's not an issue until after the election. And now I don't have to worry about it again. You want my speakership? Go ahead. But now guess what? The government's funded.
So he's going to look like roses then. And then he's going to maybe get elected or get to a higher position.
Well,
so that's what is important about talking about it, if people are aware of how politicians have to deal with each other and the type of support they get and stuff like that, a lot of it is money orientated. So you leverage that against them to say, well, we're getting sick of not having a budget, and we have all these people in America that are dependent on you. So if you ever want to get elected again, no matter what party you're on, you better figure this out in the next 20 days. Well, screw 45. This should be figured out next week. But
I think it's time to transition to the next topic because we're talking about things that are very important, like continuity and profit. And I want to talk about, with the last 15 minutes we have, this whole thing about the Second Amendment. And let me start and tell you what I think and what I would like to see, and then we can just have the conversation.
Okay.
So the Second Amendment is an amendment to our federal Constitution, which means it is a federal document and a federal law that now applies to everyone across the United States. So why isn't there a federal law governing guns uniformly with continuity statewide? For example, when I was a cop in California, it was against the law to carry concealed. It was just a misdemeanor, but it was still against the law. So guess what? You may call yourself a law-abiding citizen, but you're breaking the law by carrying concealed. And I can't tell you how many guns I took off the streets, man. And there's not one time I ever went to bed and thought to myself, wow, I wish I would have left that gun on the street. So, that argument carries no water for me. And but I can live here in Arizona and walk around strapped to my side wide open, and that's totally fine. So why don't we have something uniform across all 50 states? If it looked like something on all 50 states, I could carry strapped open where everybody can see what I'm carrying. Fine, that's the law. I wouldn't like it, but it's the law. I can deal with it because now we have something uniform and that has continuity. But I believe that they won't do that because there's profit in the chaos. And by profit in the chaos, I mean the law that makes gun manufacturers not liable for deaths caused by their product. And the whole NRA and them scaring people into thinking, oh my God, they're going to come take my guns. I better come buy all the guns in the world. When that's the farthest thing from the truth, but that's what they're selling. And with no continuity nationwide, how are we ever going to come to an agreement on what the Second Amendment is, what it means, and put this conversation to rest once and for all?
Yeah, I always thought that one of the stupidest sayings I ever heard was, guns don't kill people, people kill people. Well, actually, it takes two to tango. Without a gun in your hand, it's a lot harder to kill somebody, at least from a distance, So you gotta, the NRA, what they do is they they basically make money off of chaos. If you look at our last election cycle, you know, how many guns were sold between 2019, but especially right before an election, you know, in 2020, it just spiked up. It spiked up so much where you couldn't even find bullets. Bullets were running out of stock. Think of that. They couldn't even plan fast enough because they want to make money hand over fist. But it was such a chaos that they created that, you know, it was the biggest gold rush for gun sales ever. And it wasn't just happening in America. That type of nationalism fear was breeding for a while, but America really made a big profit off that. So if you are actually trying to help protect people, you look at the rates of gun ownership, you look at the violent crimes created, if there's an uptick or not, and then you start making plans or enact laws to prevent further chaos. Like, you know, the NRA and the NRA and the state of California passed a gun law in 1967 called the Mulford Act. That was directly to target the Black Panthers, basically out of Oakland and San Fran more, but they didn't have any problems taking gun off the streets then.
Don't forget Patty Hearst and you know, got to protect the white women. You know, the Symbian Lebanese army, the SLA, when they had her in there robbing a bank.
That was like, what, probably the same year, 67 or 66?
I remember I was a kid watching that on the news. That's how F. Lee Bailey got his name, made his name as an attorney.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, F. Lee Bailey was also on the team of lawyers that got OJ off.
Man, there's some players in California. If you look at some of the cases that came out there, I can't believe they're setting court precedents sometimes.
Yeah.
But then, you know, then in 1968, they're like, after Martin Luther King got shot and Kennedy's brother got shot, they actually enacted a law called the Gun Control Act of 1968. But if you look at that, California already enacted a law in 67, and you know you had a gun problem on the streets, and all of a sudden Bobby Kennedy comes to California and he gets shot and killed right there. Like, if they knew there was a problem and there's somebody coming into town to go ahead and help with gun laws, because he was kind of like, you know, he was worried about chaos ensuing. So he actually got shot in California, and the person in charge of that state was Ronald Reagan. Yeah. Ronald Reagan was the one that was that signed the Mulford Act in 67, and then of course he became our president in 80.
He was a terrible governor and a worse president. But anyway, that's just my opinion.
Yeah, a lot of people don't understand, so if you look at guns and the personification of America, and you think of Ronald Reagan, well, Ronald Reagan was a Western actor. That is how the image, the personification of cool America was people with guns on the sides of their hips shooting people.
Yeah.
And he paid a price for that, didn't he?
You know, he did, man. But so we have about, 7 minutes left, and I want to get into more of the chaos part, because I think that's what people need to really pay attention to. It's like, ask yourself, why does the NRA have so much money that they feel so shameless to openly give money to politicians to pay them off to make sure no gun laws get enacted that benefit the citizens of the United States? Why does the gun manufacturers have so much money that they can pay off the members of Congress to enact legislation giving them immunity? That is where the chaos is. That is where we should be focusing. It's not about me against you. It's not about you're coming to take my guns and protect my rights. It's about the chaos, and I just wanted, your opinion on that.
Yeah, that's so. When people are when bigger corporations are lobbying, which I mean that's a funny word. That's too nice a word for what they're doing here. They're paying for play to get people killed, basically, and that.
Yeah.
Well, but when that chaos ensues, and it keeps on ensuing, that's actually the point of Congress, is to have good governance, to go ahead and enact laws, to go ahead and protect the United States, your like constituents of your district, your state, or of the whole country. So that's why, like you said earlier about continuity, you need continuity. You need rule of laws established by just and fair laws for all. So by not having any type of accountability on spending and money, dark money coming in, these lobbying groups, like if you remember, a lot of the money can't be tracked from the 2012, what is that, the Citizens
United.
Yeah, so they started doing that years ago, but they already, the seeds of war were planted really in about 2006 to 2008. Like, I knew at that time, like, there's something bad going to go down, how the rhetoric started changing when Obama came into office and the birther conspiracy. And then that's the thing, is the media. So if the media isn't being controlled, if they're letting yellow journalism breed and misinformation and disinformation ensue, that is the trigger for chaos too. It doesn't just come from the cash. It doesn't just come from the inaction of good governance by Congress. But it's a combination of many things. And
I agree with you. I think Fox News is to blame for spreading that misinformation, that chaos, that whole rah-rah Second Amendment bullshit that's having everybody up in arms right now. That does have to stop. And I think, again, if we had continuity, if I knew, okay, well, I'm traveling from Arizona to New Mexico, if the law's the same, I know how to act accordingly. I don't have to change gears every time I cross the state line.
Yeah, and then that actually makes it where people get arrested because the laws aren't, so it's creating almost a racket for more chaos. So as chaos ensues more, who makes money off that too, of course, are the court systems. It funds agencies because they're making money off it. So there's a lot of things, but when it comes down to good governance, not only do you need good laws enacted, you need good laws interpreted. So that's what the function of the Supreme Court is. Why don't you, since you got more of a law background, why don't you talk about that a little bit?
Well, so in my opinion, like I said before, the Second Amendment is a federal article. It gives us a right to bear arms. Now, that was written 400 years ago under a different time when its meaning was to defend your property, defend your home in case the redcoats came invading. That was the whole reason the Second Amendment was put in there, to defend militiamen, to have arms to defend their home, their families, and their country. Today, our militia is the National Guard. That's why if you look at the symbol of the militia in every state, it is that guy. The National Guard symbol is the militiaman. And our militia has jet fighters, tanks, helicopters, artillery, boats, helicopters. You see what I'm saying? So that's why the term regulate is in the Second Amendment, because Congress has the authority on this federal document to regulate it and make it uniform nationally. And they won't do that, and that's what has to happen. But man, that is an uphill battle. But I have a sneak peek. I tell you, I think something is afoot. Something will happen, not in this election, but pay attention to 2026. I don't want to say anything, but I'll tell you privately when we're off the air what I think is going to happen, especially when it comes to the Second Amendment.
Yeah, I think laws will be enacted. It's just going to take a little bit of turnover, but also if the war is ensuing and it is going to keep on continuing, which I think is going to get really nasty by 2025, you can't just have a bunch of people being unorganized with guns in your country. You got to have the militia needs to come in, the National Guard, whoever, the Coast Guards, whoever, definitely the National Guard can call up the militia. So the militia isn't just somebody with a gun and a friend going, hey, let's go out and protect, like Kyle Rittenhouse. I'm going to go out and protect my uncle's store. No, that's not a militia. The National Guard did not call you up, buddy. We didn't need a 17-year-old with a AR-15 walking up and down the streets of Madison or what? No, it wasn't Madison. Kenosha or something like that. So
you got to enlist.
Huh?
You got to enlist. You got to take an oath to the Constitution to be part of the National Guard.
Exactly. Then there's greater accountability. You're a fighting force instead of a fighting person. That's the whole point of having the National Guard, is to have you regulated and optimized for maximum efficiency during a time of crisis.
Read the document, people. It says well-regulated militia. Anyway, that's about
nothing regulated with chaos.
Well, anyway,
chaos
remember,
is the opposite of regulation.
Fight the chaos. Look for the chaos. Ignore the BS. Don't be an us versus them. Don't be guns are wrong. This is wrong. It's not absolute, and there is a solution. Just like Brent and I had the conversation just now, we can come to a common sense solution to keep us safe that would not infringe upon your Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms.
Yeah, we're not trying to make America weaker. We're trying to make America safer and organized. That's the point. That's not a bad thing. People are so worried about their rights being taken away, but they're worried about basically how it looks. They feel like without a gun, they're less of a man because of that imaging thing I mentioned earlier. It's brought into our DNA almost about cowboys and the Old West and guns and gunfighters and all the G.I. Joe shit we played with all our lives. Well, that's actually great if you're going to use that as a fighting force for your country. But if you're using it as a mechanism of chaos,
not good.
Like
the Bible says, brother, in Gethsemane, right? When they came to take Jesus and Peter took his sword out and cut the guard's ear off. And Jesus said, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. Now, the sword's probably one of the deadliest weapons they had back then. And I just apply the same ideology, live by the sword, die by the sword. I don't feel like getting shot today, tomorrow, or any other time. So you don't see me out there rah, 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 Second Amendment. You know, it's like time and place. I know how to defend myself. I promise. But yeah, we got to have continuity, man. We really do.
Yeah, you shouldn't wear it as a badge. People are trying to wear that as a macho badge with guns and all that. It's not about that. It's about defending yourself and protecting yourself.
Yeah.
You know, and there is a time and place for everything. Most people that are, special forces and, stout military people, first thing they're going to do if there's a fight in front of them is walk away from it. You don't engage with an enemy unless you absolutely have to. And if you have to, then if somebody puts a hand on you or is reaching for a weapon, but your job is to use your mind. That's your not your macho badge, not your insecurities.
Yeah.
If your insecurities are getting in your way of your logical deduction skills, you're you know, you got to go ahead and you got to not be the weapon. You got to use the weapon. So, you know, your greatest weapon is your mind. So remember that with chaos. Chaos is only something that ensues because it's being pushed and it's not being regulated. So that's where we're going to get back to a point where we're going to get back to a balance. And there's people, believe me, there's people all over the country. You keep on hearing this Civil War bullshit. That's not true, man. That's only support or groups trying to push you into the brink of more chaos.
That's right.
Don't believe in the hype. Just believe in each other.
That's right.
As Americans.
That's right. And we've kind of run over time a little bit. I got to cut it off here. I could talk about this forever, man. Thank you for being on the show, Brett. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you have a great day, brother. I'll speak to you soon.
You too, man. And thank you guys again, the rest of you, for paying attention.